Ancient Egypt thrived along the Nile River thousands of years ago. Known for things like pyramids, pharaohs, the Sphinx, and more, their civilization lasted for over 3,000 years. They built grand structures, developed hieroglyphic writing, and believed in the afterlife. And the Nile's annual floods would support their agriculture, contributing to a rich culture and advancements. However, one thing they did that was quite bizarre was the world of surgery. And today, we'll learn all about it. Join us as we have a look at 15 bizarre facts about what surgery was like in ancient Egypt. Number 1. Ancient anesthetics, herbal concoctions, and more. In the realm of ancient Egyptian surgery, managing pain was a blending of herbal mastery and spiritual rituals. The Egyptians, known for their advanced medical practices, used various plant-based concoctions to dull the pain. Surgeons would routinely prepare opium derived from poppy seeds in order to soothe the patient's discomfort. Mandrake, another potent plant, was employed for its sedative effects, and these natural anesthetics, though primitive by today's standards, were groundbreaking for their time. The intriguing part, not all of their methods were purely scientific. Mysticism also played a role. Priests who were often physicians would chant spells and prayers, believing in their power to alleviate pain while guiding the patient through surgery. This blending of the physical and spiritual showcases the Egyptians' holistic approach to medicine. Interestingly, evidence of these practices isn't just from writings, it's also found in mummies. Traces of the herbs, along with residues of other medicinal plants like frankincense and myrrh, have been discovered in the remains of ancient Egyptians, painting a vivid picture of their anesthetic methods. Number 2. Tools of the trade, bronze scalpels, and obsidian blades. Now we go into the operating room where you're greeted by a fascinating array of surgical tools. Bronze scalpels, sharp and durable, were the mainstay of their surgical toolkit. Their ability to hold an edge would make them ideal for precise incisions, a necessity in the meticulous world of ancient surgery. But the real marvel was the obsidian blade. The volcanic glass tools, sharper than any modern scalpel, could make incisions so fine that they minimized scarring and promoted healing. Imagine the skill required to craft and wield these delicate yet deadly instruments. The craftsmanship of these tools spoke volumes about the Egyptians' understanding of surgery. They knew different procedures that were required for different instruments, and there were specialized hooks for removing small pieces of tissue and saws for cutting through bone, each tool having its own specific purpose, crafted to perfection. What's more intriguing is the cleanliness of these tools. Although the concept of sterilization was unknown, the Egyptians kept their instruments meticulously clean. The practice, likely driven by religious and cultural beliefs about purity, inadvertently reduced infection rates. These tools weren't only instruments of healing, they were also symbols of the surgeon's skill and status. Owning a well-made and well-maintained set of tools was a matter of pride, a reflection of the surgeon's expertise and dedication to their craft. Their legacy is not only in the tools they left behind, but also in the surgical principles that continue to guide doctors today. Number 3. Surgery without sterilization, a risky business. Imagine undergoing surgery without the safety net of sterilization, a standard practice in today's medical world. In ancient Egypt, the concept of germs and the need for sterilizing surgical tools were unknown, yet Egyptian surgeons daringly ventured into complex procedures, blissfully unaware of the microscopic dangers. The Egyptians were meticulous about physical cleanliness, a trait deeply rooted within their culture and religious practice. Surgeons would bathe and shave their heads to maintain purity, but their understanding of cleanliness was far more spiritual than scientific. They washed their tools in water, perhaps with some wine, which unbeknownst to them had mild antiseptic properties. This practice inadvertently reduced the risk of infection, but could not eliminate it. Infections were common and often fatal. The absence of antibiotics meant that the post-surgical care was a matter of luck as much as it was skill. Painstakingly detailed papyri describes various treatments for wounds, using honey, breast milk, and herbal pastes, which all had natural antibacterial properties. This empirical approach to treating infection was a mixture of observation, tradition, and a bit of trial and error. The irony is striking. The Egyptians, with their advanced surgical techniques, were limited by a fundamental lack of understanding of microscopic life. Their legacy in surgery is marked by this paradox, its brilliance that's shadowed by an invisible threat they never knew existed. Number 4. Trepanation, drilling skulls for spirits and science. Trepanation, the practice of drilling holes in the skull, is perhaps one of the most mystifying of surgical procedures undertaken in ancient Egypt. But was this a scientific endeavor or a mystical ritual? The answer may lie somewhere in between. The procedure involved in removing circular pieces of the skull using tools like a drill and a saw, and is believed to have been done to treat head injuries, relieve pressure from brain swelling, or even as a cure for certain neurological conditions. Imagine the sheer bravery, or perhaps desperation, of undergoing such a procedure with only primitive anesthetics at hand. Yet there is a twist. Some scholars would argue that trepanation wasn't only medical, but also spiritual. The holes they suggest might have been intended to release evil spirits causing mental illness or to allow entry for healing ones. This blending of the physical and metaphysical in their approach to medicine is a recurring theme in ancient Egyptian practices. Archaeological findings support the medical theory, showing signs of healing around trepanation sites on skulls, indicating that patients had survived for many years after the procedure. Trepanation in ancient Egypt represents a fascinating blend of empiricism and mysticism. It's a procedure that raises more questions than it answers, a window into a time when medicine, magic, mystery were all inextricably linked. Number 5. Dental dilemmas, ancient tooth extraction. Dental health in ancient Egypt was a tricky affair, fraught with challenges that would often lead to the painful but necessary procedure of tooth extraction. The Egyptians' diet, which was rich in coarse grains, resulted in significant dental wear and decay, and this, coupled with a lack of modern dental care, meant that toothaches were a common and dreaded ailment. The process of tooth extraction in ancient Egypt was as rudimentary as it was daunting. Surgeons used tools like forceps, or more accurately, primitive versions of them, in order to remove troublesome teeth. Without the luxury of effective anesthetics, patients had to endure significant pain, and often spells and prayers were recited to invoke divine help and to soothe the patient's agony. Despite these challenges, Egyptian dental surgeons showed remarkable skill. Evidence from mummies and ancient texts reveal a deep understanding of dental anatomy. Some mummies have even been found with extensive dental work, which includes attempts at treating abscesses and even rudimentary forms of fillings using materials like resin. The Egyptians' approach to dental health was not merely reactive. They also practiced dental hygiene using chew sticks, which are thin twigs with frayed endings to clean their teeth, a precursor to the modern toothbrush. This proactive approach to dental care, however, was not enough to prevent the widespread issues that necessitated tooth extraction. Tooth extraction in ancient Egypt also highlights the limitations faced by ancient dentists. They navigated a path that was fraught with pain and complication, armed only with basic tools and a profound understanding of the human body, laying the groundwork for all future advancements in dental care. Number 6. Mummy evidence, unwrapping surgical secrets. Mummies are the iconic symbols of ancient Egypt, and they're not only marvels of funeral art, but also invaluable sources of medical history. Now, they provide a unique window into the surgical practices and health conditions of ancient Egyptians. The meticulous process of mummification inadvertently preserved evidence of disease, injuries, and treatments. Modern technologies like X-rays and CT scans have allowed researchers to peer into these ancient remains, unveiling a world of surgical secrets. For instance, scans have revealed healed fractures, trepanation holes, and even signs of heart disease, all offering a glimpse into the health issues that plagued the Egyptians. One of the most striking revelations is the evidence of surgery. Some mummies show signs of amputations that had healed, indicating not only the prevalence of surgical interventions, but also the patient's survival long after the procedure. This finding contradicts the previously held benefit that major surgeries in ancient Egypt were uniformly fatal. The dental health of the mummies also tells a story of frequent tooth problems and attempts at dental treatment. In some cases, loose teeth were tied together with gold wire, an early form of dental braces, and such findings illustrate the Egyptians' innovative attempts at addressing dental issues, despite their rudimentary tools and limited medical knowledge. Furthermore, the study of mummies has shed light on diseases that were common in ancient Egypt. Evidence of arthritis, tuberculosis, and even parasitic infections provide a comprehensive picture of the health challenges that were faced in that era. Number 7. Ancient prosthetics, wooden toes, and more. The ingenuity of ancient Egyptian medicine is perhaps most strikingly evident in the field of prosthetics. Long before the advent of modern prosthetic technology, the Egyptians were crafting functional and even aesthetic replacements for lost limbs and body parts. One of the most fascinating discoveries is the wooden toe found on a mummy. This prosthetic, crafted with remarkable skill, was not only a cosmetic addition, but a functional device designed to help the wearer to walk. Made of wood and leather, it was meticulously tailored to fit the foot's contours, showcasing a deep understanding of biomechanics. But it wasn't only about functionality. The Egyptians also considered the aesthetic aspect of prosthetics. Many artificial limbs and body parts were beautifully crafted, often painted to resemble the skin or even adorned with jewelry. This attention to aesthetics reveals a compassionate understanding of the emotional and social impacts of physical disability. The use of prosthetics in ancient Egypt also had a spiritual dimension. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife where physical wholeness was necessary. Prosthetics, therefore, were not only for this life, but also to ensure the deceased's completeness in the afterlife. The development of prosthetics in ancient Egypt was a blending of practical engineering, artistic expression, and spiritual belief. Number 8. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, a Surgeon's Guide. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is a treasure trove of ancient Egyptian medical knowledge, dating back to around 1600 BCE. The detailed medical document offers a glimpse into the surgical procedures and medical treatments of the time. Comprised of 48 case histories, it covers a range of injuries and conditions, predominantly trauma cases like fractures, dislocations, and wounds. What's remarkable is the systematic approach with each case and a description, an examination, a diagnosis, and a treatment. The structure is strikingly similar to that of modern medical practice. It demonstrates a rational and empirical approach to medicine, with each case approaching logically the treatments that are based on observation and experience rather than spiritual or magical beliefs. This scientific approach is a significant departure from the mystical elements that are often associated with ancient Egyptian medicine. For instance, the treatment of head injuries in the papyrus is incredibly advanced for its time. It describes suturing of wounds, preventing infection with honey, and even the practice of trepanation. This level of detail and understanding of anatomy and physiology is astounding, considering the era. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is not only a historical document, but a foundational text in the history of medicine, revealing that ancient Egyptians practiced a form of medicine that, in many ways, is akin to the principles of modern medical science. It shows their keen observational skills, their systematic approach to diagnosis and treatment, and a deep understanding of the human body's workings. Number 9. Battlefield surgery, wound care, and amputations. In the times of ancient Egypt, battlefield surgery was a crucial aspect of military medicine. Surgeons on the battlefield would face daunting tasks of treating severe wounds, often under less than ideal conditions. Their methods and practices offered a fascinating glimpse into the early days of trauma surgery. The primary focus of battlefield surgeons was wound care. They had to quickly assess and treat injuries to prevent blood loss and infection. Techniques like direct pressure to stop the bleeding, washing wounds with wine or vinegar, and applying honey or herbal pastes were common practice. These methods, although primitive, were effective in managing wounds while promoting healing. Amputations became a last resort, but a necessary reality in cases of severe injury and infection. The procedure was done with tools like saws and knives, and while the concept of anesthesia was unknown, various herbal concoctions were used to alleviate pain. Post-amputation care involved cauterizing the wound and applying dressings to prevent infection, showcasing a rudimentary but practical understanding of wound management. Despite the lack of sophisticated medical equipment, Egyptian battlefield surgeons showed remarkable skill in dealing with traumatic injury. Their practices would lay the groundwork for modern trauma surgery. Number 10. Cosmetic surgery, vanity or necessity. Cosmetic surgery in ancient Egypt was not merely a pursuit of the vain, but a complex interplay of social, cultural, and even religious factors. The Egyptians placed a high value on physical appearance, believing it to be closely linked to one's own spiritual and social well-being. Evidence of cosmetic procedures can be found in the examination of mummies and ancient texts. Procedures like the reconstruction of the nose, ears, and other facial features were not uncommon. These surgeries were probably performed to restore the appearance of individuals who had been disfigured by injury, disease, or even deformities. Interestingly, cosmetic surgery was also intertwined with their beliefs in the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that preserving one's physical form in death was essential for a successful journey to the afterlife, and therefore cosmetic procedures were sometimes performed to ensure the deceased's idealized physical form was intact. Materials like bone, wood, and even metal were used for reconstructive procedures, showcasing an innovative approach to materials and techniques. The surgeon's skills in these procedures were remarkable, considering the rudimentary tools and limited medical knowledge of the time. Number 11. Animal surgery, not just a human affair. In ancient Egypt, the practice of surgery extended beyond humans to the animal kingdom, reflecting their advanced veterinary knowledge and the cultural significance of animals. Egyptians held certain animals in high esteem, often considering them to be sacred, which necessitated a sophisticated approach to animal health care. Animal surgery in ancient Egypt was not merely a practical endeavor, but also had religious undertones. Sacred animals like cats, baboons, and more would receive medical attention akin to that of humans. Surgical interventions included treating fractures, lacerations, and even performing more complex procedures like tumor removal. Surgeons would use a variety of tools and techniques. Many of those were similar to human surgery, and they employed bandages, splints, and ointments in wound care and understood the importance of cleanliness in treating animal patients, albeit without a scientific understanding of germ theory. The Egyptians' approach to animal surgery was not only about healing physical ailments, it was also about maintaining the spiritual harmony in their world. Animals were integral to their religious and everyday life, and their health was seen as directly linked to the well-being of society. Number 12. Childbirth, gynecology, and ancient practices. Childbirth and gynecology in ancient Egypt were areas of medicine that were shrouded in both reverence and mystery. A woman's health, particularly related to childbirth, was of significant importance, given the high value placed on fertility and the continuation of the family line. Midwives played a crucial role in childbirth, possessing knowledge and techniques that were passed down through generations. They used various positions for labor, understood the importance of cleanliness, and employed massages and herbal remedies to ease pain and facilitate delivery. The birth stool, a common aid, would help in making the process even more manageable for the expectant mother. Treatments in ancient Egypt were a mixture of practical and mystical approach, and medical documents from those days document various conditions and their treatments, ranging from fertility issues to menstrual problems. Treatments could include herbal remedies, dietary changes, and even spells and incantations, reflecting the blending of empirical knowledge and spiritual belief. The attention to a woman's health in ancient Egypt was not only a medical but also a societal issue. Women's ability to bear children would be linked to the prosperity and stability of the family line, and by extension, society itself. This made the role of midwives and gynecologists crucial in ancient Egyptian culture. The practices in childbirth and gynecology in ancient Egypt, while primitive by today's standards, were advanced for their time, revealing a society that valued women's health and sought to understand and support the processes of reproduction and female well-being. Number 13. The pain puzzle, managing discomfort in ancient times. Managing pain in ancient Egypt was a complex puzzle that combined empirical knowledge with mystical beliefs. Without the understanding of pain mechanisms as we know today, Egyptian healers relied on a variety of methods in order to alleviate suffering. Herbs would play a crucial role in pain management. Plants like willow, known for their acids, and poppy, known for having opium, were used to create analgesic concoctions, and these natural remedies were often effective, though their potency and safety did vary. But managing pain was not only about the physical remedy, it also involved spiritual and psychological aspects. Egyptians believed that pain could be due to malevolent forces or even the wrath of the gods, and thus incantations and magical spells often became part of pain management regimens aimed at appeasing the spiritual entities. Interestingly, the mind-body connection was subtly acknowledged. Relaxation techniques like meditation and the use of soothing music were sometimes employed, reflecting an intuitive understanding of the psychological aspects of pain. This multifaceted approach to pain management highlights the Egyptians' holistic views on health. They recognized that pain was not only a physical sensation, but also a complex experience requiring a comprehensive approach while blending the tangible to the intangible. Number 14. Infection and healing, a balancing act. In ancient Egypt, dealing with infections was a delicate balancing act, guided more by experience and observation than by understanding of pathogens. The Egyptians recognized the symptoms of infection, being redness, heat, and swelling, but their explanations and treatments were a mixture of practical and mystical approach. Honey, with its natural antibacterial properties, became a common remedy for infection. They also used copper, which was antimicrobial, and in some of their medical instruments, herbal pastes and salves were applied to wounds, some of which were contained substances that we know to have antiseptic qualities. Hygiene would play a significant role. Egyptians valued their cleanliness, and this cultural practice also helped in reducing the risks of infection, even though the concept of germs was still unknown. They bathed regularly to maintain cleanliness in their living and medical environments, practices that inadvertently helped in infection control. Spiritual and magical practices became part of their healing regimen. Spells and prayers were believed to ward off evil forces that were causing infection. And this dual approach, both practical and spiritual, was characteristic of their understanding of medicine. Interestingly, the Egyptians had a rudimentary understanding of the healing process. They knew that some wounds needed to be left open to drain, while others were stitched up and bandaged. The empirical knowledge gained through observation and experience became crucial in their management of infection. The Egyptian approach to infection and healing reflects their position at the crossroads of science and mysticism, their methods, a blending of observable phenomena and spiritual belief. They would lay the foundation for future medical practices, highlighting their pivotal role in the evolution of medical science. Number 15. Legacy of Egyptian surgery, influencing modern practice. The legacy of ancient Egyptian surgery is a tapestry that's woven with threads of ingenuity, intuition, and innovation, which have subtly influenced modern medical practice. While separated by millennia, the echoes of their surgical techniques, tools, and philosophical approaches can still be felt in today's medical world. Firstly, the ancient Egyptian surgical tools, notably for their precision-crafted bronze scalpels and obsidian blades, foreshadow modern surgical instruments. The keen edge of the obsidian blade is mirrored in today's use of ultra-sharp scalpels that are necessary for minimizing tissue damage while promoting healing. The continuity highlights a timeless understanding of the importance of precision in surgical procedure, and furthermore, their approach to understanding and treating the human body laid down early principles of anatomy and physiology. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, with its systematic approach to diagnosing and treating injury, is seen as a precursor to modern medical texts, demonstrating an empirical approach to medicine, emphasizing observation and logical reasoning, foundational aspects of today's medical sciences. The multifaceted approach to pain management in ancient Egypt, combining herbal remedies with spiritual practices, also reflects in modern holistic medicine. Today's emphasis on treating the patient as a whole, addressing both physical and psychological aspects of pain, resonates with the ancient Egyptian approach. In infection control and wound healing, while they did lack an understanding of germs, the Egyptians' emphasis on cleanliness and their use of naturally antiseptic substances like honey would mirror modern antiseptic practice and wound care management. And finally, the cultural and spiritual aspects of Egyptian medicine, particularly their respect for human body and emphasis on post-mortem appearance, foreshadow the modern ethical considerations in both medicine and surgery.